Part 27. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 266. Killing, setting fire and smashing the store, one set after another. They seem to be very skilled in doing it, as if they did this kind of thing often. With Andy's order, the 8 big men who had smashed the store into pieces directly surrounded the 3 store managers of the Black God Society, and they started to fight while talking. What do you want to do? Do you have to kill them all? Among the 3 people, the strongest manager saw the 8 purple-clothed men who surrounded them tightly, and his face changed drastically. He thought it was just a normal revenge, but now he found that this matter was not simple. Not only smashed the store, but also killed people. Kill them all. Yejing and Gray were suddenly stunned, looked at each other, and laughed loudly. What are you talking about, killing them all now? Obviously, the bottom has been turned over. Why keep them if not kill them all? Keep them for the new year? Gray sneered. You 3 just woke up, right? Let me tell you, the sky fell overnight. After that, he turned to Andy impatiently and said, hurry up, we have to rush to the next scene. Why are you in such a hurry? I have to record the video to leave evidence, otherwise the Federation may not admit it. At some point, Andy had raised the camera in his hand and filmed the smashed and dilapidated store, especially the 3 managers who were beaten up. This must be recorded well. The bigger the quarrel with the Black God Society in the future, the greater the merit of this first shot. Andy smacked his lips with interest. I'll post it online in a while, and make this matter a reality first. 8 people besieged 3 people, and they were all at the same level. In a short while, they were already at a disadvantage. In the panic, a manager was knocked down. Unbeatable. Unbeatable. Hearing this, the 3 Black God Society managers were almost mad enough to spit blood. Their eyes almost popped out. 8 people surrounded 3 people and beat them, and you still said we were vulnerable? You 2 against 1, try it? At this time, it was not Yejing's turn to intervene, and Andy didn't even let them in the camera. Out of boredom, Yejing and Gray started chatting. Seeing the shop being smashed to pieces, Yejing felt a little distressed and said, after the shop was smashed, it will cost a lot of money to renovate it. What a pity. Gray curled his lips and said disdainfully, this kind of broken decoration has no sense of luxury at all. It doesn't match the status at all. It's better to smash it. After I finish it, I will send people to renovate it. Within a week, the shop can reopen. Besides, I have sent people to buy rare metals, mithril and black gold, as many metal crystals as possible, and various levels of magic beast crystal cores. A large number of them will be available in 3 days. After sending them to you, it will be up to you. How much money you can make depends on your speed. Action so fast? Yejing was slightly stunned, a little stunned, but calmed down in a blink of an eye. If he didn't move fast, he wouldn't be Gray. Besides, who would dislike making money slowly? Of course, the faster the better. Thinking of the refining speed of synthesis in his furnace, Yejing couldn't help but smile. If this shop opened, it would really be a source of money. By the way, thinking of money, Yejing suddenly thought of his own sun essence, and turned around and asked, how much is my sun essence worth? How dare you ask? When Gray thought of the sun essence hidden by Yejing, he couldn't help rolling his eyes. The energy contained in that sun essence may not be much. It is now being tested in our family's laboratory. The results will come out in 2 days. Not much energy. Yejing was slightly stunned. What happened? Is the energy inside leaked? No. Gray shook his head. The sun essence has supported the energy of the undead secret realm for nearly 100 years. The high-level energy will also be exhausted one day. The high-level energy in it has been lost. It is estimated that it is not worth even 10 million spirit stones. The value of 10 million spirit stones is not enough. Yejing was speechless and felt so distressed. Although the energy of the sun essence is one level lower than that of the Omega beam, it is the energy contained in the sun after all. It is the highest among the high levels. The difference between the two will not be too big. The value of the sublight in the Omega beam is at least 100 million spirit stones, and his solar essence is not even worth 10 million. 10 million spirit stones, let it be, it's better than nothing. Yejing thought silently, it's all free, the energy of 10 million spirit stones is integrated into the furnace, it's enough for him to eat a pot, not to mention the Emperor of Europe. The triggering probability of passive skills during this period made him more confident to throw the spirit stones into the turntable. Maybe the low-level and medium-level passive skills are useless, but the higher-level ones are very useful. While talking, the battle in front was over. The three managers of this stronghold were already covered with wounds and fell to the ground. Gray asked, "Is it over?" "It's over." Andy nodded, waved his hand, and the 8 purple-clothed men withdrew. After Yejing and Gray looked at each other, they walked forward and reached out to touch the strongest manager before. After searching for a while, he found a black gold badge. This was the Black God badge exclusive to the Black God Society. Black God Society Wangji, 2nd rank. Hidden God Warrior. At the same time, he also found the same Black God badge from the other 2 people, but it was the 3rd rank. In such a small base, there are 1 second-class and 2 third-class warriors hidden. It must be said that the Black God Society has a lot of manpower. Okay, it's done. Your goal has been achieved. You have successfully pulled our family to attack. My goal has also been achieved. The first shot of the war was taken by our family. Everyone is happy. Andy said with a smile on his face. Everyone has his own purpose. Anyway, he has done what he needs to do. Gray nodded. Anyway, it's good that you dare to fire the first shot. I owe you a favor. I've been waiting for you to say this. After Andy finished speaking, he put away the video recorder in his hand, waved to his family, and said loudly, "Let's go. Let's go to Changtian Hotel for a drink." As Andy and his people retreated, the smashed shop instantly became deserted, leaving only Yejing, Gray, and Ai Zayakui. 3 people. Yejing looked around, his heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly asked, "Where is Xiao Yan? Where is she? Why is she gone?" When there were many people, they didn't notice it, but now that there are few people, they all noticed it. Ji Qinjian, I don't know when, she disappeared. Gray also found it, and couldn't help but panic, "Oh my god. Isn't she lost? Or was she kidnapped by others?" Just then, Ai Zayakui, who had been silent all the time, suddenly spoke, "In the back, I didn't notice the existence of others, so I didn't care." In the back. Yejing and the other person looked at the door leading to the back of the store, a little puzzled. Is there something else in the back? Let's go in and take a look." The 3 walked into the back of the store, and the door of the room in the back had been opened. It should be Ji Qinjian who opened it. After entering the room was very sparsely decorated, with almost no ornaments on the wall. There was nothing else in the whole room except 2 cabinets and a round wooden table. They saw that Ji Qinjian was pacing back and forth in the room, with a serious expression, as if she was looking for something. "What are you looking for?" Yejing walked over quietly, scaring Ji Qinjian, who was concentrating on her work. She trembled and quickly jumped away, taking a defensive posture. When she saw that it was Yejing, she was dissatisfied and said, "Why are you walking like a ghost without making any sound?" After Ji Qinjian calmed down, she said excitedly, "I guess there may be a secret room in this room, I'm looking for it." Secret room? Yejing was stunned and wondered, "How do you know there is a secret room here? This smart person can see it at a glance." Ji Qingjian gave Yejing a contemptuous look, stretched out her white and clean finger and pointed at the round wooden table in the middle of the room, and said, "See, there is only this table, there is nothing on it, and there are no chairs around it. It is not for sitting or putting things. What is it for? Isn't this too deliberate? It seems that there is some truth." Gray was slightly stunned, and put his eyes on the broken wooden table. He looked up and down, but there was no abnormality. "This is the most ordinary wooden table?" Swoosh. Suddenly, a sound of breaking air passed through Gray's ears. The next second, a silver arrow was inserted into the wooden table that was originally intact. The arrowhead of the silver arrow was inserted straight into the wooden table. The arrowhead was stained with green venom, which was extremely corrosive. In an instant, the wooden table was directly dissolved. Seeing the wooden table melted into a pool of its original appearance, Gray was so scared that his face turned green, and his whole body was covered with cold sweat. His steps were trembling. It was just a little bit, and the silver arrow shot into his body. If the silver arrow touched his skin, the wooden table would be his fate. Oh my goodness! Gray stared and swallowed his saliva. He turned his head stiffly and saw Ji Qingjian sticking out her tongue with an innocent face and whispered, "I didn't mean it. Look here." She didn't know what she touched. A silver arrow suddenly shot out of the wall, leaving a small hole. It was this hole that attracted everyone's attention. Yejing frowned and looked at the hole on the wall. "Is there anything behind this?" Gray opened one eye and closed the other, leaned over to look into the hole, but it was pitch black and he could not see anything. "There must be a mechanism. Let me search it." Ji Qingjian was very interested, her face was red, and she was very interested. She had only seen this kind of thing in novels, but she didn't expect to encounter it today. It would be unreasonable not to play with it. However, she was the only one who was interested in finding the mechanism. No need to bother. Ai Zayakui was wearing a black robe, and took out a sharp blade from under the black robe, and the spiritual energy flowed. Surrounded by white mist, it was floating in the air. The sharp blade was swung, wrapped in spiritual energy and shot directly at the wall. The powerful force faced the ordinary wall, and the sharp blade went straight into the wall, disappeared in front of them, and shot into the wall. "Just smash it," Ai Zayakui said lightly. "That's right. We are all cultivators, why bother with this effort? If we face an ordinary wall, why not just smash it? Not to mention smashing the wall, digging 3 feet into the ground is very easy." "Then what about my mechanism?" Ji Qingjian said in a daze. "Find it yourself." Yejing shrugged his shoulders, turned his wrist, and the golden knife appeared in his hand. The 1-foot spiritual edge appeared and chopped directly on the wall. In an instant, the wall collapsed, revealing the secret room behind. "Is it really strange?" Yejing and Gray's eyes lit up and they walked in quickly. The secret room was very small, only about 20 square meters. It was empty, but the walls were covered with white paper, and the white paper was full of words. Yejing tore off a piece and read it. "The distribution of Haifeng Trading Company in the 6th district of Magic City. There is 1 shopkeeper in the underground palace realm and 2 managers in the human realm. The goods are worth about 3 million spiritual stones." After taking a glance, Yejing frowned, and then tore off another one. "The distribution of the medicine industry along the river in the 6th district of Magic City. There is 1 shopkeeper in the underground palace realm, 1 manager in the underground palace realm, and 2 guards in the human realm. The goods are worth 2.3 million spiritual stones, and there are more heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Damn it!" After Yejing looked at 2 more pages, his eyes widened instantly, and he was shocked. He looked at the hundreds of white papers on the wall. These were all information about the shops in the 6th district of Magic City. What do they, the Black God Society, want to do? He actually knows all the shops in District 6. As long as someone is willing, he can even take down the entire District 6 of the Demon City in an instant. The 6th area is close to the core area. If you win the 6th area, you can threaten the core area. My dear, it's scary to think about it. Yejing was stunned and said with a dull look on his face, "This is really an accident. Look here quickly." Suddenly, Gray's exclamation rang out, attracting Yejing over. "What's wrong?" Yejing followed Gray's gaze and saw that there was a map hanging on the wall, a map of District 6. The 6th district is divided into 3 lanes and 6 streets, 3 inner lanes, middle lanes, and outer lanes. Each lane has 2 streets. On this map, it is one of the streets near the lower road in District 7, which is also where they are now. On the map, there are more than a dozen red circles, large and small, marking some key stores. Yejing murmured, "This is the street that this stronghold is responsible for. Just one street has been studied so carefully. It seems that the plan is really big. Probably they never expected that Black God would have such a day and someone would knock on their door directly, so these things were all on the surface. Now it's better, it's directly cheaper for the two of them." Looking at the white paper all over the wall, Yejing and Gray's eyes shone brightly. In their eyes, this white paper filled with information was no longer white paper, but money and achievements. The Black God Society intends to plan the entire Demon City. No, the Black God Society does not have such great strength. There are even deeper forces behind the Black God Society. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 267. My dear. It seems like there's really going to be a big fuss. Gray's face turned green when he saw the information in the room. He was dumbfounded and froze in place, not knowing what to say. He originally just wanted to take revenge on the Black God Society. Although he might not be able to wipe out the entire Black God Society, he would at least suffer heavy losses. But now, this small stronghold is covered with information about one street in the 4th district of Magic City. What about the other strongholds? Are the other strongholds also filled with information about other areas of the Demon City? That's for sure. This stronghold was randomly selected, but the information of one house was exposed. One stronghold has 1 room of information, and 100 strongholds has 100 rooms of information. They even said that the Demon City had been penetrated. Where is the Magic City? In addition to the largest city in Blue Star, Imperial City, it is also the most important economic center of Blue Star. The location of the Demonic Academy, one of the 5 great courtyards. The central city where the strong men from the 3 disaster realms sit. The Black God General has explored the entire Demon City. What does this mean? This is treason. This is treason. The Black God Society is about to rebel. The more he thought about Gray, the colder his heart became, as if his heart had been frozen by thousands of years of ice, and the cold air was rising up. This is really shocking. There is no fool here. Gray can think of this, and so does Yejing. His current mood swings are no worse than Gray's. Yejing looked at the information in the room, his eyes straightened, he swallowed, and said blankly, "Should this matter be reported immediately?" Gray nodded blankly, yes, report it. You must report it. What are you waiting for? Stop it." While Yejing was speaking, his hand had already touched the white paper on the wall, and he gently collected it one by one. These are all evidence. Now, the Black God Guild, which originally suffered heavy losses, may have experienced catastrophe. The two of them hurriedly collected all the information, piled it up into a big mules, and brought it together. Yejing looked at the large piece of white paper information in his hand and said solemnly, "There is nothing more important than these. We should hurry up and hand it over to the Federal Council. We can't wait any longer. This is the 4th District, the main branch of the Federal Council, which is in the core area of the first district, not very far from here. Yes, yes. This matter is the most important. Go to the Federation quickly. Gray reacted and nodded hurriedly in agreement. What else was there to talk about going to hunt the Black God Society? Is there anything more important than this? Once these things are handed over to the Federal Council, there will be no need for Gray and his family to pay for the reward, and the Federation will take action. What is a Federation? The Federation is king. The Federation is the largest force in Blue Star, occupying all the cities in Blue Star. Not to mention the permanent directors, the 109 directors account for 90% of the large group forces in Blue Star. Who can withstand such a behemoth? In front of the Federation, even the Emperor who controls the entire Dark World can only lurk secretly, not daring to reveal his whereabouts. Not to mention a small Black God Guild, even 100 Black God Guilds were suppressed. Blue Star has been shattered for hundreds of years. Except for some large-scale events, no one knows the background of the Federation. It is deeply hidden, like the calm flow of a river, as calm as a river. But now, it's almost like the Demon City is turned upside down. Now that the attack has reached our doorstep, the thunderous fury of such a behemoth as the Federation will inevitably come down. Before we know the power behind the Black God Society, only the Black God Society can bear this wrath. It seems that my family's hundreds of millions of spiritual stones will be saved. Gray smiled happily and waved, leaving the small stronghold with Yejing and Ai Zyakui, turned a corner, and got into his luxury car. In the car, Xiao was playing with his mobile phone boredly. Xiao, drive. Hurry, go straight to the Federal Council. Council? Where are you going? It's all a place with a bunch of bad old men, Xiao Wu asked doubtfully. His hands and feet kept moving as he spoke, and the car drove away in a few seconds. The hearse drifted and ran towards the first central area. None of them knew that after they left, a middle-aged man with a gloomy face walked out from the corner of the street. The middle-aged man watched Yejing and the others leave with murderous intent in his eyes. Behind the middle-aged man, a person walked out quietly, a man in black with fierce eyes. The man in black lowered his head and stood beside the middle-aged man, and asked in a deep voice, "Steward, what should I do?" The middle-aged man pursed his white lips and asked silently, "Has all the information in other strongholds in the fourth area been collected?" The man in black nodded. "After they smashed the stronghold, we notified people in other places and quickly transferred the information. Now the managers in charge of other districts have also learned about the news, and they are all transferring. In about 2 days, in just 1 hour, they can all be transferred safely." But the middle-aged man looked at the direction Yejing and others were leaving, and said with a gloomy face, "They still have a piece of information about the Demon City in their hands. If this information is handed over to the Federation, the sky will fall. If they are just some trash pioneers, our Black God Guild can easily deal with them, and we can even use them to train our troops. But if we drag the Federation down, it will be a disaster." The man in black frowned and asked, "What about those people? Are we going to ignore them? They are the ones who insisted on getting the information about the Demon City. If this is exposed, they can't stand it." Humph. The middle-aged man suddenly snorted coldly. "They came from outside the Demon City. They have no power in the Demon City. What use can they be? It's better for us to do it ourselves." "Do it ourselves?" The man in black's eyes lit up. "What do you mean, sir?" A trace of murderous intent flashed in the middle-aged man's eyes. "Go, send people to intercept and kill them. If there are people in the heavenly destiny realm who can arrive, let them go. If they can't arrive, let the underground palace realm go. As many people as possible go, make sure there is no mistake. Don't let them get to the Federal Council." "Yes, I'll arrange it right away." The man in black nodded, took his leave, and turned to leave. Only the gloomy middle-aged man was left there, silent and motionless for a long time. After a few minutes, a sigh came out of his mouth. Alas, you are courting death. Courting death. The 4th district is not far from the 1st district. After all, the magic city is a ring-shaped city. The areas get smaller as you go inward. If you go straight from the 4th district to the 1st district without any obstruction, you can get there in less than an hour. The Federal Council is located in the most central area of the 1st district. It is surrounded by various large groups, forming a heavy layer of protection to protect the members of the council. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 268. In the car. Gray flipped the intelligence paper in his hand, his face showed excitement, and his tone revealed a hint of excitement. You say, have we made another contribution? And it's a great contribution. Yejing nodded and said, it should be right. The world is so chaotic now, and the demon city is about to explode. Now we can find a force that does evil, and the evidence is solid. We don't even need to take action. The Federation will go up and destroy them. Speaking of which, they are also lucky. They just casually destroyed a small base of the Black God Society, and even after the fight, they turned around without even thinking about investigating. Speaking of which, we have to thank Ji Qingjian. If they hadn't brought Ji Qingjian with them, if it weren't for Ji Qingjian's curiosity, they would not have found these things. While talking, Yejing was suddenly slightly startled, looked around the car, and suddenly shocked, Where is Xiao Yan? Why is Xiao Yan gone? What? Gray turned his head in surprise. There were only him, Gray, and Ai Xiaokui in the car, but there was no sign of Ji Qingjian. Gray worriedly said, Where's Xiao Yan? Did I forget her somewhere? I asked her to go back. Ai Xiaokui, who had been invisible all this time, suddenly spoke up, which made the two of them feel relieved. I see, you should have said it earlier. Yejing breathed a sigh of relief and complained, he thought something had happened. It's okay to go back, it's okay to go back, anyway, she has had enough fun, it's time to go back. That's right, Gray nodded in agreement, the Federation is full of boring old men, there's no point for her to go. Where are we now? Yejing looked up and asked Xiao. The 2nd district, we're about to reach the junction of the 2nd district and the 1st district, Xiao replied. So fast. Yejing was slightly stunned, and just as he was about to say something, his face suddenly changed, and he suddenly shouted loudly, hide. It was so fast that his body had already moved while he was speaking. While the luxury car was still speeding, he pushed open the door and rolled out. At that moment, the spiritual energy contained in the surrounding air became violent, as if several people were attacking at the same time, and the spiritual energy exploded. In an instant, the surrounding air solidified, and the breath was extremely heavy. And the destination of this attack was exactly this luxury car. With Yejing's alertness, not only did he notice it, but others also noticed it. Their faces also changed slightly, and they moved quickly and rolled out of the car directly. Gray, who was sitting in the co-pilot, did not forget to pull Xiao Wu with him before escaping. The second after the four of them rolled down from the car in a mess, several elemental attribute damages such as gold, silver, wind, fire, ice, lightning, etc. were instantly poured into the luxury car. Boom! A loud noise. In the blink of an eye, the luxury car that originally had the four of them sitting in it instantly flew into the sky. Seeing the luxury car being blown into pieces, Yejing and others' faces sank directly, and they were still frightened. If they hadn't reacted quickly, if they were still in the car, they would have been blown up together. In this case, they would either be killed or seriously injured. Someone attacked. Someone actually dared to openly attack them in the central area, or even at the junction of the second and first areas. This is going to be a big mess. Yejing's thoughts were flying, and the three words Black God Society appeared directly in his mind. The only hostile force that was qualified and capable of using force in the central area was the Black God Society. After all, their enemy was only the Black God Society. Damn it! Yejing cursed inwardly. Did the news spread so quickly? In just 1 hour, they organized people to attack them. The Black God Society's reaction was really fast. Feeling the fluctuations of the surrounding spiritual energy, there were all kinds of attributes, and there were 9 people who had arrived now, and they were all in the underground palace realm. After the explosion, shocking shouts rang out, and the pedestrians and passers-by around were scared pale, and fled away in a flash, running far away. It has only been a few seconds since the explosion, and the area within 100 meters has been cleared. Except for the person involved, there is no one else. Xiao, run, Gray said with a serious face. Young master, I am powerless, so I will retreat first. You must hold on. I will go to get reinforcements. Xiao's face was pale and bloodless. He was just an ordinary driver. His whole body was trembling with fear. After hearing Gray's words, he did not insist. After gritting his teeth and speaking, he turned around and ran. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The next second, 9 figures fell from the sky. Each of them was wearing black clothes and covered their faces, revealing their appearance. The 9 black-clothed men in the underground palace realm flashed their footsteps, and in a blink of an eye, they surrounded Yejing and the other 2 tightly, leaving no trace. Among them, when they saw the fleeing Xiao, a figure flashed, and just as they were about to chase him, they were stopped by someone. Don't worry about that, he is just an ordinary person. We don't have time to deal with him. Do it as soon as possible and kill all these people. Yes. Oops. 9 underground palaces. Yejing looked solemn, and pulled out the golden knife, aiming it at the 9 men in black. He dared not act rashly. If he showed a flaw, death would be waiting for him. You two, be careful. Yejing just turned around and told them in a deep voice. After turning around, he was stunned for a moment. Where are Gray and Ai Xiaokui? Where are they? No. He seemed to have encountered such a situation before. As soon as there was any danger, Gray and Ai Xiaokui disappeared, leaving him alone. Sure enough, Yejing lowered his head and saw that his shadow was trembling slightly. It was obvious that Ai Xiaokui had escaped into his shadow. Then Yejing looked up at the sky again. Gray didn't know when he had flown into the sky and was still rising. Yejing, WQNMBs. So envious. When will I have this kind of escape skill? Flying to the sky and escaping to the earth, I am so envious. However, it is useless now. The leader of the 9 people looked up at Gray, and couldn't help but a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he hummed, Sanfan, go up. Get him down. Yes. After the man in black named Sanfan responded, his whole body trembled suddenly, countless spiritual energy surged, and hurricanes gathered around him, slowly forming a huge tornado several meters high. Go. As Sanfan gave an order and pointed at Gray in the sky, the tornado spiraled directly into the sky and rolled towards Gray. Oops. Gray's face changed suddenly, and his whole body was shaking violently due to the strong wind. His wings were shaking and his body was rising and falling. In the sky, his wings lost their original movement, and his body became unstable. As the cold wind of the tornado surged, his wings could no longer fly, and his whole body fell down. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 269. Bang. With a muffled sound, Gray was directly overturned by a huge tornado and fell heavily to the ground. His wings landed first. Fortunately, his wings were thick and rough, so he didn't suffer any damage. If he landed on his head, he would have lost a combat capability before the fight even started. Seeing Gray being driven down from the sky, Yejing's face changed slightly, and his expression gradually became solemn. It seemed that he was coming. Even the sky was prepared for this move. Being able to react like this in such a short time, it was worthy of the Black God Society. Want to run? No one can run. Time is running out, attack together. Resolve the battle within 3 minutes. The leader of the men in black sneered and waved his hands suddenly. The 9 men in black who were originally surrounding Yejing and others attacked together, attacking Yejing and Gray together. In an instant, swords and shadows appeared all over the sky, and wind, rain, thunder, and lightning appeared together, covering the entire sky, and all pressed down on Yejing and Gray in one breath. Damn it! Seeing the all-round attack without dead angles, Yejing's face turned black. He had no defensive skills. He had no defensive power at all. If he was hit, he would be at least slightly injured in one round. Seeing 2 people rushing towards him with swords and knives, the sword energy was 3 feet long and the sword light was 13 inches long. After the swords and knives, there were 3 huge ice pillars above that smashed down on him. On the ground below, there was also a vibrating ground spike that lifted the ground and attacked Yejing. There were attacks from all directions, and Yejing couldn't even dodge. A trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes, and he roared at Gray. Protect me. I protect a fart. Gray was miserable when he heard Yejing's roar. He was also besieged by 2 people. However, he saw that Yejing had several times the attack, so he had to grit his teeth, and the wings on his back trembled suddenly, and several flying feathers flew into the sky, helping Yejing to resist the ice pillars in the sky. Needless to say, Ai Zyakui, who was lurking in Yejing's shadow, swung out a green blade from the black shadow in a tacit understanding, and stabbed it directly into the ground with a whoosh, stopping the ground spikes that were shaking the ground. Gray and Ai Zyakui in the sky and underground had helped him stop it, and the rest could only rely on himself. Yejing glanced in all directions, and his cold eyes flashed by. The golden knife, which was originally a little dim, burst into a shining light. He held the hilt of the knife in one hand and supported the knife god with the other hand. He silently calculated the trajectory of the enemy's attack in his heart. After a second and a half, the golden light flashed on his waist and he pulled it out with a bang. Buzz! A sound of breaking through the air sounded from the golden knife, and a thin golden thread was drawn in the air. The half-moon-like arc-shaped golden thread seemed to even cut through the space. Draw the knife. Half a circle. Calculating the time when the enemy gets close. Yejing's knife light formed a half-moon, and the 3-foot-long aura chopped straight at the enemy's abdomen. However, half a moon is not enough. There were attacks in front and behind him. He only counterattacked the attack in front, but what about the one behind him? Wouldn't he be exposed? Yejing's heart was in a hurry, and his feet moved slightly unconsciously. His body turned slightly with a very subtle movement, and his whole body tilted over. As his body moved, the golden light that originally covered only half a moon turned half a moon again. The golden knife aura surrounded Yejing 1 meter away, and it was extremely dazzling. Yejing's knife was fast, and the knife aura was even faster. The golden circle around him was completed in just a blink of an eye. As the enemy approached him, it seemed to be attacking him, but it was more like hitting his knife aura. Originally, Yejing only wanted to stop the enemy's attack and didn't think about counter-attacking at all, but after hearing the BGM in his mind, no, it was a prompt sound, his face suddenly became happy and he almost laughed. Triggering double attack, this attack causes 3 times the damage. Trigger double attack, this attack is released again. Double sound. Double attack and double attack. It is the most powerful passive attack skill in Yejing's hand. When the passive skill is triggered, the golden circle, which was originally only 5 inches of golden light, suddenly tripled. At the same time, the golden circle seemed to be copied, and another one appeared. The power tripled, and it was 3 times the joy. This golden circle is not a thing like a hula hoop, but the golden sword energy formed by Yejing's sword slash, which is extremely powerful. The 4 men in black came close, and in a hurry, they didn't expect Yejing's counterattack to be so fierce. The swords that were originally offensive turned into defensive postures in an instant, and their bodies couldn't stop and hit the 2 golden circles. However, when their weapons hit the golden light head-on, their eyeballs burst open and stared, and at the moment of contact, their weapons exploded. It didn't explode, but was cut open, as if cutting a carrot into strips of cloth, and was cut into 2 halves without any sound. How can the light of a grain of rice compare to the bright moon? When the weapons of the 4 enemies surrounding Yejing were cut open, the 4 were horrified and wanted to retreat, but their bodies crashed into him uncontrollably. They couldn't retreat anymore. Swish! 4 streams of blood spurted out, blood columns flew across, and blood splashed. A blood mark appeared neatly on the abdomens of the 4 men in black, and the entire abdomen seemed to be cut open, revealing a deep blood mark. Puff puff puff. The 4 men in black who came with great momentum retreated fiercely. After just one contact, they were originally unharmed, but in the blink of an eye, they were seriously injured. If it weren't for their weapons that had blocked the disaster for them before, perhaps the 4 of them would not have been seriously injured in the abdomen, but would have been cut open. The 4 people rushed in, and the 4 people rushed out. They covered their lower abdomens with unbelievable expressions and retreated violently, fearing that Yejing's attack would continue. It was also their bad luck. Originally, Yejing just wanted to defend, but who would have thought that he was so lucky that he actually triggered double attack and double attack in succession, which almost took the lives of the 4 of them. Sure enough, the passive skill is the skill of the European Emperor. If it is not triggered, it is useless, and if it is triggered, it is a miracle. What? The leader of the black-clad men who had been overseeing the situation saw 4 people retreating with serious injuries, and his face changed. He was still sneering the previous second, but his face changed instantly the next second. He stared at the golden knife in Yejing's hand with an unbelievable look. What kind of weapon is this? What power is this? It's bad. They only have 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the administrator of the Demon City will arrive. At that time, they will not face the underground palace realm, but the heavenly fate realm. But 4 of his men were crippled in one encounter. Are these 3 minutes enough? Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 270. Waste. The leader's face turned black when he saw his 4 men being disabled after just one encounter, and he cursed angrily. As the 4 retreated, bloodstains flowed, and they were almost cut off. 4 of the 9 men were disabled in the blink of an eye, and the leader's face turned green. Do they have 3 minutes left? 4 were killed in less than 10 seconds. Can the remaining 5 hold on? Not to mention killing Yejing and the other 2 in 3 minutes, I'm afraid they will be wiped out. You 4, go deal with the one with wings, I'll deal with him and the stinky rat in the shadow. The leader sneered, and his aura suddenly changed, pressing towards Yejing with his mighty power. He knew that there was a person hiding in Yejing's shadow, a person who was still lurking, but he was not afraid, because he had strong strength. The aura soared into the sky, and the spiritual energy of the 9th level of the underground palace realm made the surrounding air stagnant, as if even the air became heavy. This is the real boss. Yejing's face changed slightly, his eyes focused, staring at the leader in front of him. The real crisis is coming. The black-clothed leader stepped on the ground, and the ground cracked directly. With him as the center, the ground within a radius of 3 meters collapsed instantly. Whoosh! With a light sound, the black-clothed leader's body instantly disappeared from the spot, and several residual images flashed in the space. The next second, when he appeared again, he was already in front of Yejing. So fast. Can't see clearly. Yejing's eyes were blurred, and in a blink of an eye a black shadow appeared in front of him, and the almost condensed killing intent rushed towards him. The black-clothed leader rushed with a thick black fist, wrapped in the power of thunder, as if even the space was broken. With a punch, the sky and the earth changed color. With his great perfection in the underground palace realm, every move can already cause a trace of the power of heaven and earth. As this punch rushed out, Yejing felt that this was not a fist, but like a huge rock of tens of millions of pounds hitting him, extremely heavy. The wind from the fist stung his face, and Yejing's face suddenly changed. He subconsciously held the golden knife in his hand upright in front of his chest, ready to block the blow. However, things were not as simple as he thought. A punch came and hit the golden knife. The golden knife in Yejing's hand suddenly trembled violently, shaking his hands straight to numbness. This shock went straight to his whole body, as if he was paralyzed and unable to move. The powerful impact was like a mountain torrent and tsunami. Yejing's weak body was shaking. Unexpectedly, he was directly blown away for several meters and hit the wall behind him heavily. Ahem! Yejing felt stuffy in his chest and almost spit out a mouthful of blood. It hurt so much. Such a great power. He was horrified in his heart. This should be the most powerful person he has ever met. Under the wind from the fist, he did not feel the breath of elemental attributes. It should be an attack without attributes. The main focus of attack without attributes is lethality. Go to hell. The leader's whole body shook violently, and his huge body tilted forward slightly, shooting towards Yejing like a firecracker, with boundless spiritual energy wrapped around his fists. Damn! Can't react in time. Yejing's heart trembled, he was numb all over by the previous punch, his whole body was paralyzed, his body moved slowly, and he couldn't move. Move quickly. He roared in his heart, but the next second, he was not in a hurry. Facing the black-clothed leader who was coming to kill, Ai Zyakui, who had been lurking in Yejing's shadow, suddenly appeared, holding two semicircular green blades in his hands. Ai Zyakui didn't take the initiative to attack, but just held two poisoned green blades dryly. Not taking the initiative is taking the initiative. The black-clothed leader moved very fast, and he couldn't stop at all while moving, and just rushed straight towards the green blades. Facing the two halves of the poisonous blade flashing green light, the black-clothed leader showed a sneer on his face, and instead of retreating, he advanced, just waiting for you. Kill one first. He is the manager of the Black God Society. After more than 30 years of ups and downs, he has encountered all kinds of situations. He has always remembered Ai Zyakui, who is lurking in Yejing's shadow, and is waiting for her to show up on her own initiative. Facing the two poisoned short knives on the opposite side, his body suddenly burst out of Vajra shadow, and the phantom of the angry Vajra appeared behind him, wrapping his body up. In a flash, it hit the green blade in Ai Zyakui's hand, and the metal collision sound of ding 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 sounded. With a snap, the two green blades broke directly at the mere contact, and not even a trace of it penetrated into the phantom of the angry Vajra, let alone hurt the body of the black-clothed leader. Die! A big word of death came out of the black-clothed leader's mouth, and a fist bigger than a sandbag slammed into Ai Zyakui's body. Why is it always Ai Zyakui who gets hurt? Fortunately, Ai Zyakui resisted for a while, allowing Yejing to recover. During the transition, Yejing pulled Ai Zyakui, who was blocking in front of him, to the side. Cut! The golden knife in his hand slashed from top to bottom, towards the fist of the black-clothed leader. Sparks flew. A strong confrontation. Don't know whether to live or die. As the black-clothed leader's fist blasted out, the angry King Kong phantom behind him suddenly glared at Ye Jing, with two eyes glaring down. Sudden attack. Physical attack plus mental attack, let's see how you can block it this time. A trace of murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the black-clothed leader. It worked. However, he didn't know that Ye Jing was immune to mental attacks. The angry King Kong's eyes shot directly into Ye Jing's brain, and at the same time, the black-clothed leader's fist also fell. Under mental attack, trigger advanced passive skills, mental immunity, immune to this attack, and last for 15 seconds. It's time to counterattack. Ye Jing's body didn't even pause, the spiritual energy on the golden knife burst, the tip of the knife was full of energy, and it chopped directly on the fist of the black-clothed leader. His weapon is different from Ai Zyakui's broken copper and iron. This is made of Omega sublight. As long as it touches, no matter who you are, you will be hurt. The two intersected and chopped down with the knife. The face of the black-clothed leader was gloomy. Ye Jing, who was not affected by the mental attack, was slightly stunned, thinking that this script was wrong. However, when a touch of red appeared on his fist, his whole aura changed drastically, and his body suddenly retreated backwards. In the blink of an eye, he retreated 20 meters away. He was able to survive in the sea of corpses and blood until now, relying on this cautiousness. When there was any danger, he would withdraw directly without any lingering fight. When bloodstains appeared on his fist, he felt something was wrong. Without knowing the situation, he retreated 20 meters away and looked at Ye Jing with a vigilant look. After retreating to a safe place, the black-clothed leader looked at the bloodstains on his fist, and a trace of haze flashed in his eyes. What kind of weapon is this? His body was specially trained, and it was invulnerable to extraordinary weapons. Now he was seriously injured in the hands of Ye Jing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buledinji Bayet. Chapter 271. Buddhism is compassionate, but there is also the angry I King Kong, and the shadow that appears behind the leader in black is the angry I King Kong. After coming into contact with Ye Jing, the angry-eyed King Kong behind the black-clothed leader suddenly trembled for a few minutes, as if he had received a violent impact. The originally solid shadow suddenly started to sway. There was also a faint trace of blood on his fist, and even his Vajra body suffered serious damage at this moment. Just like this, when the scars appeared on his fists, he retreated suddenly, and in the blink of an eye he retreated to a safe place. He looked down at the blood marks on his fists, and a trace of gloom flashed across his face. What is this? Ye Jing naturally didn't know what the leader in black was thinking. If he knew, he would probably laugh secretly. This is called God-level passivity. Destruction of ashes, produces serious injury when attacking, reduces the enemy's healing effect by 50%, destroys 1% of the enemy's body, current physical injury level, and burns 1% of the aura in the enemy's body, the current aura. As long as this skill is present, no matter it is the underground palace realm or the destiny realm, once it comes into contact with a weapon, this skill will be triggered and the body will be forcibly destroyed. Ye Jing resisted the attack and turned to look at Gray. When he saw Gray, he almost couldn't help but laugh. I saw Gray stretching out his wings, surrounding himself, wrapping himself into a ball, and protecting him tightly. The spiritual energy in Bayu's wings flows, forming layers of protective circles. This is the strongest defensive skill in Gray's hands. Bayu, who was originally extremely noble, turned into a flawless turtle shell in the blink of an eye. The turtle shell lay on the ground, holding his head and being beaten, but no one's attack could penetrate the turtle shell. Time passed, and the leader in black looked solemn. He silently calculated the time in his mind. 1.5 minutes had passed, and there was less than half of the 3 minutes left. This was terrible. Originally, these 3 minutes included the time for them to escape and leave, but now it was better. Let alone escape, they did not even complete the task. This is really bad. To retreat or not to retreat? The leader in black had a gloomy expression on his face and was caught in a tangle. If he didn't retreat now, it would be too late to retreat. Once the federal people arrived, it would be too late for them to retreat even if they wanted to. In the sky, at some point, alarms were sounded, and the alarms kept coming. He could even feel several waves of energy more powerful than him rushing towards him. During the struggle, the two men in black also retreated, and whispered in the ear of the leader of the man in black, "Sir, it's too late if you don't leave. Life is important. They don't even want to die. Once they fall into the hands of the Federation, they will have no choice but to live or die." Just when the leader in black was still hesitating, from the horizon of the first area, a cluster of red clouds pressed over with the power of heaven and earth. The red clouds floated, and wherever they went, the sky and earth changed color. The thieves dare to cause trouble in the magic city. They are so tired of living. A cold roar in the distance resounded throughout the world, and boundless pressure and anger arose. When the sound came, a ball of sky fire suddenly fell from the distant sky. The sky fire fell straight down, as if it was tangible, and it hit one of them in an instant. On the man in black. "Ah! Sir, save me." In an instant, the whole body of the man in black caught fire, and the raging fire ignited his whole body. He was furious, and the smell of charcoal filled the surrounding air. In the blink of an eye, the man in black was burned by the sky fire and turned into a ball of white ash, which was piled on the ground and fluttered in the wind. Seeing the scene of his men being burned by sky fire, the leader's face suddenly changed. The face that originally had some color turned pale and bloodless in an instant. "Let's go! Let's go!" The leader in black gave the order, and the surrounding men fled in the blink of an eye. In an instant, everyone ran away. Running so fast. Yejing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They were running fast. Otherwise, when the federal people came, they wouldn't be able to run away even if they wanted to. But fortunately, someone came. If the fight continues, the three of them may not be opponents under the siege of 9 people. If this is the case, once they are injured, the consequences will be disastrous. After all the men in black fled, a few seconds later, the fire cloud from the sky came here, covering the sky, and a figure fell heavily from the fire cloud. Bang! There was a heavy sound, and several meters of crack marks were made on the ground. The dust gradually subsided, revealing the figure inside. This man fell from the sky, wearing armor burning with endless flames, and a red gun standing in his hand. His whole body was surrounded by flames, and there were even flames burning between his eyebrows. As the fireman landed, a red light shot out from his eyes. He glanced around, and finally focused on Yejing and others. "Where's the thief? Where's the thief? Destiny Realm." Yejing took a breath of air in his heart. Crouching tigers, hidden dragons in the demonic city, any random person who comes out is a Destiny Realm possessing the power of heaven and earth. Yejing looked respectful and said, "Run away. Run away." The armor-wearing Huo Ren glared, his eyes widened like Zhang Fei's, and he shouted angrily, "Run away. I finally came out and let them run away. I'm not doing this for nothing, are you here?" While he was talking, he also saw Gray lying on the ground, wrapping himself tightly with white feather wings. The white feathers were covered with scars and sword marks. The inside was airtight and soundproof, so Gray still didn't know. The enemy had fled, and he was still lying on the ground shivering. "Maid, is this the eldest son of the Edward family? Why is he so cowardly? He's as tall as an egg." Huo Ren, who looked like Zhang Fei, stared with eyes as big as copper bells, and kicked Gray on him. Bayu's defense, which had been failed to be broken by several people before, was knocked over by him with just one kick. Damn it! I'm going to fight you all. When Gray saw that his defense was broken, he was stunned for a moment, his eyes fixed, and he said angrily. However, when he saw the burning man in front of him, there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. He looked around blankly and found that the man in black who had besieged him had disappeared. He breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. Superior. Be good, someone is here, I'm really scared to death. Gray sat on the ground, sweating profusely. This was so close, he almost couldn't bear it. You're a coward like a dog egg. He looks like a little girl, but he's also so timid. Pyro shook his head and laughed, then kicked Gray on the shoulder, knocking him upside down. My name is Xuan Keming, the director of the Federation today. How come you are being hunted down in the central area? Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 272. The Federal Council, which sits in the central area of the Magic City, has a director on duty every day. Today was his turn. When he was extremely bored, he discovered several powerful energy fluctuations in the central area, which shocked him instantly. Sa immediately left his official duties and came on Xuanhuan. Who would have thought that he would make such a big fuss, and before he could wait, all the people would run away, making his trip in vain. What's up? Right? Down to business. Yejing suddenly remembered, and hurriedly took out the white paper information in his hand, handed it to Director Huang, and said solemnly, Director Huang, look, this was found from the Black God Society's stronghold. What a mess. Director Huang collected all the fireworks and muttered, I'm not a literary student. I can't understand these tattered things. What the hell are these? However, when his eyes fell on the white paper Yejing handed him, his expression suddenly changed and his face suddenly became serious. Although he is a rough person, he is not a fool. He can naturally understand what the things in his hands are. Director Wang's expression changed, and he hurriedly turned over a piece of white paper with his thick palms. It was all information from the Demon City. The information contained in this piece of information is extremely detailed. Every piece of white paper contains information about a store or a building. You said this thing was found from the Black God Society's stronghold. Director Huang focused his eyes and said in a serious tone. Yejing nodded, yes, a few of us searched it out. When we saw these things, we knew something was wrong and hurried to the council in the central area. But before we reached the road, someone was intercepted and killed. If the director hadn't come quickly, the consequences would have been disastrous. Humph. Black God Society, you bastard. Director Huang shook the white piece of information in his hand and snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, as if he was disdainful. He had never looked down upon such a mouse in the shadows. It's one thing not to take it lightly, but it's another thing when something has already happened. Since the Black God Society is already collecting information about the Demon City, it must have a very big plan. I just don't know how far it has reached, I don't know how far it has been prepared, and I don't know if there are other forces colluding with the Black God Society. Okay. Director Huang looked at the blank piece of information in his hand. After a moment of silence, he suddenly laughed loudly, I've been feeling bored lately, so I can have some fun. Turning around, Director Huang looked at Yejing and the others, with a look of satisfaction on his rough face, you guys, you did a good job on this matter. I'll give you a credit later. After that, he patted Gray's shoulder again, almost knocking Gray's small body to the ground. Yes, you are better than me. Although the turtle shell magic skills are the same, you are still a bit manly. It's good this time. Originally, the Federation didn't intend to interfere with the business affairs of your Edward family and the Black God Society. Now, you don't need to spend any money on these things. The Behemoth Federation needs to take action. After Director Huang said that, he put the white paper information on his finger back into the storage space, and waved his hands to them. Okay, you guys go back first, pay attention to safety, I want to go back and report this matter. Director, walk slowly. Director Huang came and left on red clouds. Is it done? Gray said blankly, is this the end? Except for one sentence, why don't you even get any rewards? Yejing was speechless. Didn't you tell us to record our achievements? What else do you want? Do you still expect him to give us hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones? Yes, I still want merit more than spiritual stones. Gray thought about it and realized that he was right. He was not short of money, so there was nothing missing. I do want spiritual stones. Suddenly, Ai Zayakui, who had no presence at the side, interrupted, making Yejing and Gray ashamed. She didn't know the use of merit. After such an event, they were all tired. They originally had plans, but now they are no longer interested. I originally wanted to intercept and kill several Black God Guild underground palace realms to vent my anger, but I didn't expect to have them intercepted first. But despite this, the resentment in their hearts disappeared. What else is there? The Black God Society's old foundation has been overthrown, and there is no need for them to take action this time. If the Federation intervenes, at least it will cause heavy losses. If the Federation is more serious, it will be a disaster. When the planetary machine starts to operate, all monsters have nowhere to hide. The Federation controls the entire blue star. There are thousands of satellites in the sky, covering the entire blue star, and all shadows are clearly visible. Tired and hungry, he asked Xiaowu, who had fled far away, to come back and drive. When he first arrived in the central area, Gray treated Yejing and Ai Zayakui to a 5-star hotel and ordered a dozen dishes from the menu. Ai Zayakui said very honestly, so much, I can't finish it. A lot. I'm usually too lazy to eat. Once I eat, the table is full of dishes. If you want to eat, you have to eat to feel comfortable. If you want to eat, you have to eat to satisfy your appetite. How many of these? There's not much of these, Director Lian said. Of course. Isn't the main thing when eating is to eat enough? There are so many of them. Ai Zayakui shook her head. Okay, if you can't eat, just walk around, Yejing said. The table was full of delicious dishes, which whetted the appetite of the 3 people, and they started eating right away. After a ravenous meal, even the usually silent Ai Zayakui showed a hint of satisfaction. It smells so good. After eating and drinking, Gray burped and said lazily, it's going to be lively now. The Federation has taken action. If this really angers the Federation, no one in the entire Blue Star will be able to withstand it. Yejing leaned back in his chair and squinted his eyes and replied, this time, the Black God Society is in big trouble. I guess even the Chief Black God didn't expect that things would be turned upside down just because of beating a dandy boy. Of course, not only the Black God, but even the leader of the Black God Society didn't expect this to happen. A million miles away in the Star Sea, the leader of the Black God Society was meeting with his men and planning to stop the first expeditionary force from returning to Blue Star. They didn't have the strength to completely destroy the first expeditionary force, but they had to delay it for at least 2 months. Within 2 months, the news of the first expeditionary army must not be transmitted back to Blue Star. However, he did not know that he was now leading the extraordinary realm of the entire Black God Society to make plans in the Star Sea, and his family's past had been overturned. Except for the leader of the Black God Society, who was completely unaware, even the Chief Black God was confused and at a loss. What did I do? I clearly did nothing. Why did it turn out like this? Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 273. Talking about business. After Gray took a sip of the special drink, he looked at Yejing and said, "Didn't I tell you before? The price of your solar essence energy leakage may not be too high. Have you ever thought about it? Change to something else." Something else. Yejing was stunned for a moment, a little confused. What should I exchange for? I don't lack anything except spiritual stones. Gray said with a solemn face, "No, you are missing." Yejing shook his head and replied solemnly, "No, I'm not in need." "You are missing." Yejing was furious, "I'm missing you, uncle. What do I lack? I'm lacking realm. Can you help me?" Snap. Gray slammed the table and said with joy on his face, "That's right. It's the realm. You just lack the realm." Yejing. Yejing looked confused and said, "What are you talking about? I also know that I lack realm. But it is not under my control, and it won't be able to improve for a while. There's no point in worrying. It can be promoted. Why can't it be promoted?" Gray chuckled, his eyebrows blooming with laughter. "Why do you think those geniuses improve so quickly? Why do you think they slowly improve when they are in their teens or 20s? After Yejing heard this, he became even more confused. After thinking about it, he said with a puzzled expression, "Genius? Who is it? Whose realm has gradually risen? I have never seen it. I know that I am in the human realm at that time. The realm soared and reached several levels in a few days. Could it be said that they can do it too? Melting pot, how did your level rise? Don't you have any idea?" Yejing, "Not sure, thank you." Gray couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he heard Yejing's words. He mentioned the words realm soaring in front of Yejing as if he was humiliating himself. But he had seen it with his own eyes. After Yejing left Gukhan, he came to during the few days in the Demon City, the boundary between the human realm seemed to be broken. I ran several 100-meter sprints in one breath and almost flew into the sky. But the underground palace realm cannot be compared with the human realm. If the human realm is for beginners, then the underground palace realm is for experienced players. Every step and level of the realm requires a lot of time to accumulate. And can something like time be shortened? Obviously, yes. There had been no time before, and Gray had no intention to talk to Yejing. Now it was just a good time to chat while eating. After all, apart from the two of them who were full, there was one person who didn't stop using his chopsticks. He looked at Aizayakui, whose aloof image had already collapsed, and was eating meat and fish, and couldn't help but feel ashamed. Look, the beautiful lady is hungry. It's been a long time since she had a luxurious meal. That is to say, Aizayakui can't hear Gray's voice, otherwise she knows what will happen. It's not that she hasn't had a luxurious meal in a long time, but she's never had one before. Continuing with the conversation, Gray paused, looked at Yejing and continued, "Do you know what the big forces use to collect high-level energy?" Yejing rolled his eyes, "You know what you're asking, why should I listen to you competing here if I want to know?" He. Gray smiled and said, "Among high-level energy sources, Omega sublight is the most top-notch existence. It has always been priceless but has no market. The function of Omega sublight is to suppress spiritual energy and can directly destroy the spiritual energy in an area. It is because of this heaven-defying effect that most of the Omega sublight will be turned into shackles or smelted into formations. Once covered by the shackles or formations containing the energy of Omega sublight, the whole person will become shackles. It's like it's useless, just like ordinary people. This kind of powerful suppression is defenseless for people below the destiny realm. If it is 100% suppressed, the destiny realm will be suppressed by about 60%. The extraordinary realm is weaker and will be suppressed by about 30%. I don't know if it will have any impact on the 3 disaster realm. After all, no one dares to experiment with the half-saint from the 3 disaster realm. Is the effect so strong? Yejing was stunned, and his heart was extremely shocked. He had been exposed to Omega sublight, and naturally knew that Omega sublight was the nemesis of spiritual energy. However, at that time, he was just a young practitioner who had just entered the human realm. He was completely repression is a given. But he didn't expect that at a higher level, there would still be such a powerful suppressive power. In the underground palace realm, even if you reach the underground palace realm, once you encounter the Omega sublight, your spiritual energy will be like air, and it will be useless except for breathing. Not to mention that even the destiny realm will be suppressed by 60%, and the super boss who has reached the extraordinary cannot resist the erosion of Omega sublight, and will be weakened by 30%. Possessing equipment made of Omega sublight is equivalent to having a weakening aura. Once all enemies step into the domain of Omega sublight, their strength will be reduced by half, or they will be reduced to mortals. How terrible! Thinking of this, Yejing couldn't help but regret slightly. If he had known that Omega light had such a strong suppression effect on spiritual energy, he would have tried to find a way to leave some Omega light when he was refining the weapon. The 2 greatest uses of Omega sublight are the power of annihilation, the endless destruction of all objects. Another use is to suppress spiritual energy. What he chose was the power of annihilation, and it was with such powerful attack power that he was able to save himself from danger many times. What about the Sun Essence? What is the specific use of the Sun Essence? I think the price of the Sun Essence is not low, right? Yejing suddenly asked out of curiosity. Seeing that Yejing was not ashamed to ask questions, Gray could not help but look proud. He said, the energy of the Sun Essence can be violent or gentle. It is a very extreme energy source. It's a bit violent. Everyone knows that the Sun Essence is what's left after the sun breaks, and the huge sun is exploding all the time, releasing endless energy, and the Sun Essence also inherits this. Among the same high-level energy, the power of the Sun Essence explosion will be stronger than other high-level energy, and the energy released is also several levels more. Speaking of this, Gray couldn't help looking at Yejing with a distressed look, and sighed, it's a pity that the Sun Essence you brought out from the secret realm of the dead is a defective product. The energy contained in it has been lost for 100 years, and there is not much left, so the role it can play is also much less. Yejing spread his hands innocently, and sighed in the same way, what can I do? I don't know where I am for 100 years. You know, 100 years ago, you were in your grandfather's protein. In addition to the violent side, as the sun that breeds all things and illuminates the entire galaxy, there is also an extremely gentle side, and this side is also inherited by the Sun Essence. The most gentle and widely used use of the Sun Essence is to resonate with the human body and spiritual energy, so as to break through the realm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 274. What is Sun Essence? Except for the word essence, it is the fallen fragments on the sun, it is the sun itself. The sun illuminates the entire galaxy, spreading its warm light across the darkness, melting the cold universe. And the energy properties contained in it are also mild. All living things that are illuminated by its supreme rays can absorb the energy contained in the sun's essence. Trees absorb sunlight and grow, and humans survive in the sunlight. Everything is inseparable from this gentle energy. Before the Reiki Age began, millions of years ago, humans had already begun to come into contact with higher energy. This is also the case in modern times, but we are just unaware of it. For thousands of glorious years, the sun's sacred light is still protecting this galaxy. Even after being shattered to pieces, it remains the same. At this time, Yejing suddenly thought of the great scene he saw in the fantasy world on the asteroid fragments in the Lonely City. When the Omega beam shot from outside the universe, the phantom of the Holy Spirit of all creatures came out in response. Without hesitation, it flew towards the Omega beam and rushed towards the Omega beam. Even though the phantom was shattered, it still kept pace. He saw Ho Yi, who had only drawn the bow once in his life and only shot the golden crow, draw the bow and arrow again. He saw Nuwa, who had never been angry before, throwing the sky-mending stone at the Omega beam with an angry look on her face. He saw that Pangu did not create a new world this time, but threw the heavy axe out. The sight of that scene was still deeply engraved in the depths of his mind, and he could not forget it. Whenever he thought of the scene he saw in the illusion, his mind would still be shocked. After being slightly absent-minded, Yejing looked at Gray, frowned and asked, "You mean, the sun essence I gave you can be used to improve our realm?" Gray nodded and said, "The sun essence is now in my laboratory, and the energy essence in it is being concentrated. It will be completed in a few days. By then, the two of us will have half of it. After all, our realm is too high now, it's too low. It's only the first level of the underground palace. It's so different from other people. You can agree or disagree. The choice is in your hands. If you agree, I will give it to you after the energy is concentrated. Similarly, I will only pay half of the original price for purchasing the sun essence. If you don't agree, then I will swallow the energy of the sun essence for myself, and the price will be the full price. The price difference of several million spiritual stones, you think about it carefully." After Gray finished speaking and handed over the choice to Yejing, he turned to look at Aizayakui and asked with concern, "Is it enough? Do you need to add more?" Aizayakui swallowed the food in her mouth, gave Gray a grateful look, and shook her head. "That's enough, I'll treat you next time." "What do you want us to eat?" "Eat the vegetables I fried." Gray. I see. After listening to what Gray said, Yejing fell into deep thought. Is spiritual stone or strength more important? This doesn't seem to be a multiple choice question, right? It's obvious. Strength is important. Why does he want the spirit stone? Isn't it just that you want to use the little energy leaked when the spirit stone pours into the furnace to improve your realm? Of course, it counts as one in exchange for energy to extract passive skills, but there are so many tens of millions of spirit stones, and it won't be of much use if he extracts them. Although the probability of triggering passive skills during this period is unknown, it seems to have been secretly manipulated by a certain controller, and the probability of triggering has increased significantly, but it is not used that much. In the final analysis, it is only when one's own realm improves that one's strength can truly grow. This is the right way. Should we eat leftovers from the furnace or the real essence of the sun? Is it even necessary to think about it? Yejing looked at Gray and said seriously, "I want the energy of the sun's essence and the spiritual stone. Only children make choices. I want them all." When Gray heard this, he couldn't help but smile. "That's right. In fact, spiritual stones are just floating clouds. What's the use of spiritual stones? Spirit stones can't be eaten. They're just trading currency. They're just a representation of bartering. That's all. In the world of monks, as long as you are strong, you can't grab any stone, whether it's a giant stone or a rock." Yejing had a dark look on his face. "I'll trade the mountain rocks for your spiritual stones. Do you want to trade them one by one? Don't change. Isn't that enough? There's no point in talking about those bullshit." However, after what he said today, his view of Gray had changed. Originally, he only thought that Gray was a wealthy young man with a sense of loyalty, but after what he said, he discovered that Gray was also a man of great wisdom. Therefore, no one can succeed casually, not even disciples of big families. After drinking and eating, The two chatted for a while before preparing to leave. Before leaving, Ai Zyakui packed up the leftovers very frugally. This also echoed what Yejing said before, not eating any more and leaving. After getting off the restaurant, Gray looked at Yejing and Ai Zyakui and asked, "Where are you going? Do you need me to ask Xiaowu to see you off?" Ai Zyakui shook her head and said softly, "I went back to the tavern directly, faster than the car." Yejing also shook his head and said, "My home is in the 4th district. I will go home today. No need to bother. I will just go back. This stroll will span 2 districts. All right." Gray shrugged his shoulders and was about to say goodbye and get in the car, but suddenly thought of something and smiled at the two of them and said, "By the way, there will be my birthday party in 3 days. I won't send you 2 invitations. I will send someone to pick you up directly." Birthday party. Yejing has never attended a party for the upper class in his life, and he was very curious, so he agreed directly. Ai Zyakui was hesitant. She was not good at showing up in public. She was not shy, but a little uncomfortable. However, she thought that she had just eaten a big meal with Gray, and it would be a bit bad to refuse. After a little hesitation, she agreed. "Okay, bye, see you in 3 days. By the way, the concentrated energy of the sun's essence will probably come out in 3 days, and the rare metals and magic cores needed for the jewelry store we open together will probably be collected. I will give them to you at that time." After saying that, Gray waved to the two of them, got in the car alone and left, leaving only Yejing and Ai Zyakui. "Then I'm leaving too. Bye." Ai Zyakui said goodbye to Yejing and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Yejing thought about the distance between here and his small villa and couldn't help but smile bitterly. If he had known earlier, he should have asked Xiao to send him off. He then took a hearse taxi and went home. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 275. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, the Demon City became more and more chaotic. First, the Federation took action against the Black God Society. In 3 days, the Federation had taken action against the Black God Society. In the central area to the 10th area, dozens of Black God Society bases had been dug out, and hundreds of Black God Society's 3 God warriors had been killed. The Federation did not catch or chase them, which was unnecessary. Whenever they saw a person, they killed one person, and whenever they found a base, they took down a base, without mercy. However, the Demon City Federation only cleared the first 10 areas of the Demon City. After the 10th area, the jurisdiction was chaotic, especially the outer 5 areas, which were out of reach. Dozens of Black God Society bases were taken down in the 10th area, but after the 10th area, only a dozen bases were destroyed. It was also because of this that the Black God Society lurking in the Demon City officially gave up the first 10 areas and moved to the 10th area. And after the 10th area of the Demon City, chaos officially began. In addition to the Black God Society's riots, the 100 Schools War next month will also be held in the Demon City and the Demon Academy. Time is running out, with less than a month left. Now, members of all the large and small colleges on the Blue Star have come to the Demon City one after another. For a time, the number of practitioners inside and outside the Demon City increased greatly, and everything was in chaos. In the past 3 days, the first expeditionary force, which was far away from the Star Sea, still had no news. Even the Federation realized the seriousness of the matter and had sent people to the Star Sea to look for it a long time ago. Unfortunately, there was no reply now. And today's Gray's birthday party is not just an ordinary birthday party. Compared with celebrating Gray's birthday, it is better to say that it is a business meeting once a year. By then, it is estimated that young people will play with young people, and elders will play with elders. As the sky gradually darkened, Yejing just woke up from his practice and heard the doorbell ring. Here it comes. Yejing went downstairs and opened the door. He saw Xiaowu standing outside the door with a smile on his face. He said respectfully, "Brother Jing, Master Gray asked me to pick you up. Let's go." Yejing nodded, opened the car door and walked in. There was not only him in the car, but also Ai Xiaokui and Ji Qinjian. Maybe because she was going to the banquet, Ai Xiaokui changed her usual appearance and took off the black robe that she had been wearing, which was hiding countless weapons. She probably thought that she would not be hurt in Gray's house. After taking off the black robe that hid the weapons, Ai Xiaokui's plump and attractive figure was exposed. Even if she was wearing a light blue leather armor jacket, it couldn't hide the height of the mountain. I don't know who matched Ai Xiaokui's clothes. She was wearing a blue casual outfit, and a thin layer of light makeup was applied on her pretty face. The coldness that had always appeared on her face also faded away. In a blink of an eye, she became reserved. It can still be seen that she was a little uncomfortable and her body was twisting. Unlike Ai Xiaokui, who was reserved, Ji Qinjian was excited, dancing with her hands and feet, her skirt swaying gently, and a pair of slender white legs swaying on the seat, looking very happy. She was a wild girl who was adopted and raised in Yuejianhe since she was a child. When had she ever attended such a high-end banquet? She was so excited that she couldn't sleep last night. Of course, Gray didn't invite her. She was the one who made a fuss to come here. The car started. As one of the original founders of the Magic City, the Edward family naturally had a piece of land in the first district in the center. Although the area was not large, only less than 2 square miles, it was still enough to hold a banquet. When they got to the place, Yejing and others got out of the car and were instantly shocked by the scene in front of them. Outside the Edward family's villa, there were gorgeous and luxurious hearses parked. Hundreds of hearses worth hundreds of millions of spirit stones filled the entire street. It was also because of the hearses that the air within a few miles around became thinner, and was replaced by the spiritual energy that filled the sky. The spiritual energy explosion in this area far exceeds the spiritual energy of the surrounding land by several times. Not only is the ground full of hearses, but even the sky is full of flying vehicles. Originally, flying was prohibited in the Demon City, but on this day, no one cares. After all, among the flying vehicles in the sky, there are also the mounts of the Federation directors. This scene is really big. Yejing looked at the hearses on the street and the flying vehicles in the sky, and couldn't help muttering. These hearses and flying vehicles have taken away all his spiritual stones, and he can't even afford a wheel. The people who got off the hearses and flying vehicles were all in high positions without exception, either the top leaders of large groups or the directors of the Federation. In addition, there were young people wearing brocade clothes and jade furs, and rich children. These people were 100% in contact with the Edward family. The golden door of the villa was opened, and there were people with great momentum outside to welcome them, and people walked in and out one after another. "Let's go, I've already contacted young Master Gray, he'll be out to greet you soon." Back in front of the Edward family, Xiaowu changed his previous carefree look. His expression and smile were restrained, one hand on his chest, the other hand made an invitation, and he bent down to invite Yejing and others to come in. The villa was full of colorful neon lights, illuminating the entire area. As soon as Yejing and his friends walked into the villa, they saw Gray in formal clothes coming towards them. When Gray saw Yejing and others, he strode over with a bright smile on his face, but in Yejing's opinion, this smile was a bit stiff, probably because he had been smiling for a long time. "I'm coming, come in with me." Gray stepped forward in 2 steps, grabbed Yejing's shoulders, and whispered in his ear, "You are here, please save my life. They are all distinguished guests. My face is almost frozen to death." He glanced behind Yejing and nodded to Ai Xiaokui, but when he saw Ji Qinjian, his eyelids jumped and he said speechlessly, "Why did you come with me too?" Ji Qinjian rolled her eyes and pouted dissatisfiedly, why can't I follow? Don't I have a sense of propriety? Can I still cause trouble in your house? Maybe. Gray muttered quietly. What? Do you know all these people? Yejing glanced at the dignitaries coming and going around and asked in a low voice. You know someone? Gray smiled bitterly, I don't know 90% of them. Even if I do, they are not on the same level as me. Yes, it was said to be a birthday party for him, but it was also an opportunity to hold a liaison meeting to exchange feelings between families. Gray. Just before Gray led Yejing and others into the hall, they heard someone calling from behind. When they turned their heads, they saw Andy dressed in purple clothes strutting towards them. Gray just glanced at it, then ignored it and continued to lead everyone towards the hall.